Well, happy Sunday morning to all of you out there in YouTube. Thanks for watching the channel, checking in on me as I start this channel. Today is Sunday. I just wanted to give a little bit of a chance to just talk about things that are on my mind on Sundays. And so, as I take some time to reflect here, I'm sitting in my van out here in the garage, waiting for my trip back to Colorado. I wanted to just take some time to think about some things that are on my mind. One of the things that's been on my mind quite a bit over the summer as I've watched the news cycles and watched a lot of things that people have been going on from um, the protesting and then the government shutdown and all the craziness we dealt with over the summer. And in general, just how things have become economically difficult for people, for regular working people. I wanted to kind of think about, what is it about our current state of society that is dehumanizing? And I use that word specifically because we as humans need certain things to thrive and to survive. And what I wanted to kind of dedicate this channel to in many ways was a way of staying human in this dehumanizing artificial world we're living in today. It seems like things are just getting out of hand in so many ways, and people are finding very, very difficult times to cope with all the different changes. And I'm just going to share a little bit of my own perspective here as an artist on the road. So I've been a professional artist for 35 plus years, and in the past 2 years have lived in this van that I've built out myself and tried to create a sustainable life for me in these changing times. The work that I had been doing consistently pays less and less over time. The amount of work it takes just to make a living, just to pay the bills, support your family and all that has been just going over the top. I do have a family I support. I support a wife and daughter, and financially, as well as my own life here. And there's a whole long story to that. But nevertheless, as I am supporting them and trying to also support my life here, and then taking care of my mom, and had been taking care of my dad too for a little bit, both of them a couple of years back, um, as life has changed for me dramatically in the last few years. A lot of this thing that I'm seeing out there is disturbing to me, has been disturbing. And the dehumanization of our world today seems to be one of the most dehumanizing or most discouraging things, I should say, um, that I've seen and that I'm starting to witness and that many of you are witnessing and responding to. I see a lot of TikTok videos, a lot of YouTube videos where people are just stressed out to the max and starting to go into not just survival mode, but you almost want to say kind of like goblin mode. They're just frantic and panicking. And so, what's at the heart of that? What are some of the issues there? And then, how can we respond to that as creatives, as people, as responsible adults in this United States that we live in today, which is very, 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 very different than the United States I grew up in. So, one of the biggest things, of course, is housing. The cost of housing has gone astronomical. The amount of supply is well below what is needed for average households to be able to find a decent place to rent or live or purchase. Housing prices, of course, have averaged out, I think, in America at something like $400,000, which is insane. That's nearly $500,000, just the average price of a normal home these days. And that places, of course, that out of the reach of many working people. even with multiple incomes. And I'm hearing stories of people with more than four incomes not being able to make it and just pay rent. Rents, of course, are quite a bit higher because of all that pressure, and they've been shooting up and up and up and up. I do hear some um, news about certain areas about rent pricing starting to decline slightly, but ever so slightly, and they've gone way beyond sustainable limits anyway. And then there's, of course, the cost of living otherwise: food, power, electricity, the necessities, right? And as I think about all these things, I think about something I was taught in school and in my studies in psychology. I have a master's degree in chaplaincy and counseling, which includes a lot of psychology, a lot of cognitive science, as well as having a degree and a master's in fine arts as well. And so, as one of those people who kind of look at the world from an intellectual point of view, sometimes I sit back and try to see the bigger picture of what's going on. And one of the things that I've noted that's what's going on is related to our needs. So, if some of you may know this, but Maslow, Abraham Maslow, back in the 30s or 40s, sometime, posited this theory of cognitive psychology. It was done in the industrial era, industrial psychology, but cognitive psychology realm, and it's known as the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at the bottom of this pyramid, we all need basic things, right? We need food, water, shelter, and the basics. And then you move up from there and you go into things like we need security, a sense of safety, and then we go into our relationships, and then we go into this very pinnacle area where we are self-actualizing. We become truly ourselves and truly human. And before one can meet a higher need, one's needs at the bottom need to be met. And so, for most people, and that's kind of a generalization, but I find it to be true in many ways. You can apply this to lots of different things, but I'm applying this to my situation here in what I see out there. What we see are governments and institutions and corporations taking away the very base of our freedom, the very base of our human needs. The major changes that we've seen, whether it's from the housing prices taking away our housing security, to food prices taking away our food security, and then to things like AI taking away our job security and taking away our sense of the future being possible, even, that we could have a hope for the future and a better future for ourselves and maybe for our children and grandchildren. And yes, I have two grandchildren, so it's one of those things that's on my mind a lot too. And I think about the fact that the world is becoming more constrained, but all of the attacks, all of the difficulty is at this bottom level of human need. But what makes us feel more human and be more human, rather than just be animals scrounging around for scraps and in panic mode, goblin mode and survival mode, is the relationships that we have with people, and then the self-actualization, the things that makes us feel valued and makes us feel alive for ourselves individually. And up there at the top of that pyramid is where we are most human, where we feel the most human. The rest of it is where we need to survive. And when those things are attacked, it takes away our ability to focus on things that are most human, right? And that is dehumanizing. It's an inhuman way of living. It's not what we're meant to live like. We're not meant for that. We're meant for the higher levels of living, to love and to have relationships and to enjoy our lives and find our purpose and find spiritual meaning in our lives, because we're not just um, beings, humans having a spiritual experience. Sometimes we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that is being attacked over and over and over and over again through misguided policies, through economic shifts, through technological shifts, the AI shift has hit me in my industry very hard because of generative AI attacking art and artists, or starting to outsource those things, and companies relying more on generated artwork rather than human created artwork, and or even a human created creative process. And those things are what make us as artists. For me, what makes me feel most human is being able to express who I am and make beauty in the world, reflect that back to the world in ways that I am able to do it in whatever ways I can, whether it's digitally when I am doing graphic design work, which is my chosen profession, and has been my profession ever since the late 80s. Um, and then doing fine artwork, ways of expressing myself and sense of transcendence, if you will. So those are things that are being outsourced now to artificial intelligence, and that's different. That hits really, really differently. In the past, we've gone through various industrial revolutions. I've gone through many revolutions in my career, where I started work doing layouts by hand. And then the desktop publishing revolution came along and outsourced a lot of that work to computers, and I started using computers. Then the internet revolution, and I got into web design very early on in the 1990s and went through the dot-com boom as an interactive and web designer, interactive media designer. And those things have been consistently whittled away, but and commoditized such that it becomes harder and harder to make a living doing those things, being able to earn enough because wages haven't really gone up in the past 20 years. Um, and then we go now where we're outsourcing our very intellect to an artificial intelligent world, and it's an artificial world. It's not meant to. It's not. We're not meant to live like this. A couple of years ago, then, when the housing prices got out of control, I put my foot down and said, no, I'm not going to play this game anymore. The last two places I had rented were rat infested, mouse infested, mold infested apartments where the landlords would both not fix the things that needed to be fixed to be safe, deal with the environment to be able to make it healthy. And it did affect my health and my mental well being very much during those times, and very negatively. And then also, um, and that the second thing, they would continually raise the rent and ask for more and more money to do less and less. When I was finished taking care of my parents through a medical crisis and came back from Tucson to Colorado again, I looked around at the places that I was looking at to rent and watching them just jump, you know, hundreds of dollars a month for nothing. And I decided to say no to that. So that is why I now currently live in the van. And I had originally bought a little trailer to take care of that to see if that would work out. But that became untenable because trailers are difficult to find consistent parking for, long-term parking for. It leaks. A trailer is essentially just a tinfoil box with made from plywood and tinfoil, and it was not that secure, and it leaked, got moldy again, and those are things that I decided then to purchase a van, which is a steel container, much more sturdy, and I felt much more safe in this. And it was an environment I could control with very low money. Most of the things around here are recycled. These cabinets and my furniture, which I'll be doing eventually a full tour of here. Um, it was recycled wood, recycled materials I got from Home Depot, free wood from the dump pile, cabinets from Habitat for Humanity that cost me, $10. My bed, is a futon, a thrift store futon that I was able to convert, and I can convert it flip it up into a couch if I want to, or make a bed. And all that, was done with recycled materials and at a low cost. Still costs a lot, especially for the electrical system. But because I'm a digital nomad, I work, I teach graphic design online and in person, but I also do web design work and other projects as I do things, and now video. Um, those are, necessary things. It's a necessary investment in my communications and my electrical setup. But anyway, all that's aside, that's the past. But going back to this idea that um, the where's we've been hit the hardest are in those areas that are where we're most vulnerable at the base of that pyramid of needs. So our housing, our food, our power, our clothing, our sense of security and safety. Those are all things that have been actively attacked in the last few years, ever since really COVID and the pandemic came around. We have seen government after government, city government, state governments, the federal government. We've seen corporations all attack, and I do mean attack because it does seem intentional, our ability to move and find freedom and be free of this cycle when our wages have been so depressed for so long. And now we're in this really deep imbalance that many of you feel where it's impossible, or it feels impossible to live and to thrive and work, and we feel controlled, we feel manipulated and gaslit. That word gets thrown around a lot, but I think it's really appropriate. Um, we're told that the economy is doing great, the stock market's doing great. That's all wonderful for those of you who own assets and who can invest in things like that. But for those of us who cannot or have not done that, it is a nothing burger. It's not the economy. The stock market, it's not the economy. The economy is what really people are dealing with. It's real life. It's having to live and sleep and find safety and eat and raise families and things like that. So that's the economy. And it's not the uh, circus that mainstream media shows it to be. And it's certainly not doing well, regardless of how many politicians want to tell you it's great. It's not been great for a very long time. So most of you know that. So what do we do? And there's got to be a solution to this somewhere. And what I did as a solution to my living situation, of course, is in the van, but this became a statement of rebellion for me, a statement of defiance, a big white van that sits on the side of the road is essentially a I will not comply sign. Society doesn't like that. Cities don't like that. People don't like that. People who feel comfortable in their sticks and bricks homes, who are trying to protect their housing, their property values and whatnot, don't like that because you can't make money from that. We pay taxes, we purchase things in the community, we work in your community, we, in many cases, educate your young people, like I do, but at the same time, we are defiant. And this is a statement of defiance. This is an I will not comply to this regime, to this circumstance anymore. I will not do this. Even if it means living in 50 square feet, then I'm not even sure it's even that. But it means finding my safety and security. It means paying off my debts. It means getting my life footprint down to as small a level as I can so that it's not dependent on an economic system that is abusive and seeks to abuse you. So this is one reason for the van. This is one reason for my channel. Staying human for me means being able to deal with that lower level of safety, security, shelter in a way that's sustainable, in a way that's as low cost as possible, so that I can focus on the other things. My friends, my relationships, my family, being able to be down here in Tucson to take care of my mother, as she is on hospice care. Um, Being able to be with my brother, find times of um, where I can hopefully be with my children who live up in northern Colorado and other people in my life, my friends, my deepest friends who support me and help me. I can focus on those things and nurture those relationships because I'm not stressed out and figuring out, trying to sort out an impossible financial situation of which I have no control over. But I can control how we respond to it, and this is my response. This is my act of defiance, of rebellion. The other ways that we remain human, as you will see, I do art. I am focused on myself. I spent a good amount of time this summer on my mom's kitchen table, documenting and painting, doing little watercolor paintings, as you'll see here, of the flowers in her garden, and just noticing what's there and taking time to slow down and learn to paint watercolor, which is a new medium for me. I was not a watercolorist before this. I used to have an art studio and I do oils and large format um, oils and acrylics, but since I no longer rent my art studio, that's all in storage now. So I have an art kit that I travel with me and try to document and do plein air paintings or take photographs of local flowers and wildlife and paint those and do things that give me joy, give me peace. I love painting flowers personally because they are so geometrically perfect in many ways. Just absolute proofs to me of God's creation and a creator God who sees the beauty in the small things. And so that's what I see. I try to be creative and see the beauty in the small things. I try to maintain that energy when I'm working with my students, helping them and encouraging them to be creative, especially during times of crisis. A lot of them went through a deep crisis when the SNAP benefits got cut off for a time, and people were during the government shutdown there was a lot of anxiety, but reminding them that their purpose in life as creatives is what we need the most in times of trouble was very helpful to them and helpful to me and a good reminder to me. So staying human for me in a dehumanizing world means focusing at the top of those things, my relationships, my travels, noticing the world, being out in nature. When you live in a van, you live outside most of the time in nature. You noticing the things that are around you, flowers, the beauty that's even in a city that is there for you if you look and touch grass, and then take time to reflect, read, learn who you are, what yourself is, what feeds your soul, and taking the time to do that. So staying human means focusing on those things. And it is an act of rebellion. It is a true act of defiance because our society now does not want you focused there. They want to control you by focusing on threatening the thing you need to survive. But we got to stay out of survival mode and go into creation mode. This is who we are. It's our birthright as human beings. It's our freedom. It's a freedom they can't take away from you. They can take away everything from you. They could take away my van if they wanted to. They could take away my right to park somewhere, which they are doing in many ways. They could take away my freedom of movement, but they can't take away my creative spark and my soul of who I am. And that is true for each one of you as well. They can't take that away. So focus on that. Nurture that. We live in a dehumanizing world, an artificial world created not for the benefit of you, but for the benefit of the few. And those people keep getting richer and keep telling you everything's great. Keep flashing consumerism in your face. Keep wanting you to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. rather than create and create and create. And what you need to do is create. So that's my little talk for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe on my channel. I look forward to seeing as this channel grows who comes in and who wants to have a conversation, because I'm very open to those conversations to maybe make some new relationships, make my life truly rich in being human. So have a great day.